The Appalachian Mountains were beautiful in a way that made people forget to be afraid. Endless ridges rolled like frozen waves, wrapped in fog every morning, hiding what lay beneath. Tourists saw postcard views. Locals saw warning signs. Ethan Cross didn't believe in warnings. He was a travel vlogger, the kind who chased forgotten places and untold stories. His channel was growing fast, and he wanted something darker, something real. When he heard rumors about a stretch of forest near a dying town called Ravens Creek, he knew he had found it. People said women disappeared there. People said the woods answered back at night. People said two men lived deep in the hills. Not animals, not ghosts, but something broken in between. Ethan laughed when the old gas station owner told him not to go. "Sir," Ethan said, adjusting his camera, "fear makes the best stories." The old man didn't smile. Fear also makes graves. Ethan drove on anyway. Ravens Creek looked abandoned by time itself. Rusted mailboxes leaned like tired soldiers. Houses sagged inward, as if trying to collapse quietly. Curtains twitched when Ethan passed, though no one stepped outside. That should have been his first mistake. He parked near a dirt trail that vanished into thick forest. The air changed immediately, heavier, colder, as if the trees were holding their breath. Ethan switched on his camera. "Day 1, he whispered excitedly. "Exploring the infamous Ravens Creek forest. Locals say no one comes back after dark." The forest swallowed him. The deeper he walked, the quieter it became. No birds. No insects. Only the crunch of his boots and his own breathing. He noticed strange carvings on tree trunks, spirals cut deep into bark, uneven and aggressive. Human hands made those, he thought. But no sane ones. An hour passed before he found it. A small clearing with a half-collapsed wooden shack. The smell hit him first. Rot, damp earth, something metallic. Inside the shack were chains nailed into the walls. Ethan's excitement faded. Then he saw the hair. Long strands tangled around a rusted hook. Human hair. He backed out slowly, heart pounding. That was when he heard it. A low humming sound, off-key, drifting through the trees like a lullaby sung to something dying. Ethan turned in a slow circle, camera shaking. "Hello," he called. The humming stopped. Branches snapped behind him. He ran. The forest no longer felt empty. It felt alive, closing in. Roots grabbed at his feet. Thorns tore at his arms. Behind him, footsteps followed. Heavy, fast, impossibly close. He tripped and slammed into the dirt. The camera flew from his hands, landing face up. Two figures stepped into view. They were men, tall, filthy, their bodies scarred and sinewy like predators who had forgotten they were human. Their hair hung in wild mats. Their eyes were the worst part, pale, sharp, watching Ethan not with anger, but with curiosity. Like hunters deciding how to play with prey. One of them smiled. The smile was wrong. Ethan screamed. The camera kept recording until a hand, large, cracked, and bloody, picked it up and tilted it toward the forest canopy. The humming returned, louder now. Then the video ended. 3 weeks later, Sarah Whitmore watched that footage on her laptop with shaking hands. Ethan had been her brother. The police called it an animal attack. Missing person. Case closed. Sarah knew better. She grew up hearing stories about Ravens Creek, how children were warned never to wander, how people vanished and were never mourned properly because no bodies were found. She packed a bag and drove to the mountains. The sheriff didn't want to help her. "Miss Whitmore," he said carefully, "people go missing in those woods. Always have. Always will." "So you're just letting it happen," she snapped. The sheriff looked tired. Old. Haunted. "We sent men once," he said quietly. "They didn't come back." Sarah went alone. She followed Ethan's trail, using GPS data from his last upload. The forest felt wrong from the moment she stepped inside. The silence pressed against her ears. The trees leaned inward like eavesdroppers. She found the shack. She found the chains. She found blood soaked into the dirt. Sarah fought the urge to vomit. That was when she heard breathing behind her. She spun around, knife raised. A man stood there, younger, cleaner than the creatures from the video, but his eyes carried the same emptiness. "You shouldn't be here," he said. His voice was human. That terrified her more than anything. "Where's my brother?" she demanded. The man hesitated. He didn't suffer long. A branch snapped. Another figure emerged from the trees, taller, broader, face twisted with something like jealousy. This one didn't speak. He only stared at Sarah as if she were already dead. "That's my brother," the man whispered. "He doesn't like outsiders." The tall one growled. Sarah ran. They chased her not with panic, but with patience. She realized then the truth. These brothers didn't just kill. They hunted. They learned their victims. They enjoyed the fear. Sarah reached a cliff edge, breath tearing her lungs apart. There was nowhere left to go. The tall brother stepped closer. The other watched silently, humming. Sarah made a choice. She jumped. The fall should have killed her. It didn't. She woke days later in a hospital miles away. Hunters had found her broken body near the river. When she told them what lived in the forest, they believed her, because they had heard the humming too. The woods were sealed off after that, officially declared dangerous, uninhabitable. But locals know the truth. At night, when the fog rolls low and the wind moves just right, a broken melody drifts from the hills. And sometimes people still disappear, because the hills don't forget, and the hunters never leave. Sarah Whitmore never truly left the mountains. Even after her body healed, even after the casts came off and the scars faded into pale lines across her skin, something inside her stayed buried in Ravens Creek. At night she woke drenched in sweat, hearing that same broken humming, feeling eyes on her from the dark corners of her room. The doctors called it trauma. Sarah called it a warning, because she knew one thing with terrifying certainty. The brothers were still alive. The forest had been officially closed. Yellow warning signs stood at every trailhead. No trespassing, dangerous wildlife. Tourists stopped coming. Maps were redrawn. Ravens Creek slowly vanished from conversation. But disappearances didn't stop. A hitchhiker. A college girl camping illegally. A photographer chasing fog shots. Always near the same mountains. Always without bodies. Sarah tried to move on. She moved to another state, changed jobs, avoided forests. But the guilt gnawed at her. Guilt for surviving when Ethan didn't. Guilt for leaving those creatures alive. Then one night, an email arrived. No sender name. No subject line. Just a single video attachment. Her hand shook as she clicked play. The footage was grainy, filmed in darkness. A flashlight beam cut across trees, moving fast, frantic. A man's voice whispered, terrified. "They are following me. I hear them." The humming began. Sarah slammed the laptop shut, bile rising in her throat. She knew that sound. Someone else was in the woods. She contacted the only person who had believed her, Caleb Rourke, a former search and rescue tracker who had quit after losing 3 men in Ravens Creek years ago. He answered on the second ring. "I was hoping you'd never call," he said. "They're active again," Sarah replied. "I got proof." There was a long pause. "I'll get my gear," Caleb said finally. "But listen to me. This time, we don't rescue. We end it." They assembled a small team. No police. No officials. Just people who had lost someone to the mountains and had nothing left to fear. They entered the forest at dawn. The woods welcomed them like an old enemy. As they moved deeper, Sarah noticed something new. The symbols on the trees had changed. No longer random spirals. Now they formed patterns. Paths. "They're marking territory," Caleb muttered. "They know we are here." By nightfall, the humming started. Soft at first. Closer than it should have been. They set up camp anyway. That was their mistake. Just before midnight, the screaming began. One of the men was dragged from his tent before anyone could react. The forest exploded into chaos. Gunshots, shouting, shadows darting between trees. Sarah caught a glimpse of him, the tall brother, moving impossibly fast, blending into darkness like smoke. Then she saw the other one, standing still, watching her. "You came back," he said softly. Rage burned through her fear. "Where is he?" she screamed. "Where is my brother?" The man tilted his head. "He's part of the hills now." Sarah fired. The bullet hit him in the shoulder, spinning him back. For the first time, he screamed, not in pain, but in fury. The tall brother howled. The forest answered. They ran. By morning, only Sarah and Caleb were left. Blood stained the ground. The forest looked untouched. Caleb leaned against a tree, breathing hard. "They're not just men," he said. "They learned how to survive without mercy, without rules." Sarah stared into the trees. "No," she said quietly. "They learned because someone taught them." Caleb looked at her sharply. "What do you mean?" Sarah stepped closer to a tree marked with fresh symbols. "They were children once." Something moved behind the bark. A hidden door cracked open, and from the darkness below the earth, a woman's voice whispered, "They were born hungry." The door in the tree wasn't a door at all. It was a camouflage of bark and moss hiding a narrow stairway carved into the earth. Cold air rose from below, carrying the smell of damp stone, blood, and something far older, decay that had learned patience. Sarah's pulse thundered in her ears. They were born hungry. The woman's voice echoed again, weak but unmistakably alive. Caleb raised his rifle. "Sarah, whatever's down there, it doesn't want us walking away." Sarah nodded and stepped forward. The stairs led deep underground into a cavern hollowed beneath the mountain. Lantern light revealed crude walls carved by hand, symbols scratched everywhere, the same spirals, now mixed with tally marks. Hundreds of them. A record. At the center of the cave sat an old woman, chained to stone like an offering that had been forgotten. Her hair was white and tangled, her eyes sharp despite her ruined body. "You came to kill my sons," she rasped. Sarah swallowed. "What did you turn them into?" The woman smiled, slow and proud. "I kept them alive." Her name was Martha Hale. Decades ago, she had fled into the mountains with 2 infant boys after her husband disappeared in the mines. The town turned on her. No food, no shelter, no mercy. "So I taught them the rules of the hills," Martha said. "Eat or starve. Hide or die. Hunt or be hunted." Caleb's voice shook. "You raised them like animals." "No," Martha snapped. "I raised them to survive when the world abandoned us." A low growl echoed from the tunnel behind them. The brothers had returned. The tall one moved first, charging with animal rage. Caleb fired, hitting him square in the chest. He stumbled, but didn't fall. The other brother screamed in grief and fury. Sarah saw her chance. She grabbed a burning lantern and hurled it at the cave support beams, old, cracked, barely holding the mountain back. The ground trembled. Martha laughed. "The hills will bury us all," she whispered. The brothers lunged. Caleb tackled the taller one, wrestling him toward the collapsing tunnel. Stone rained down. The humming turned into a roar. Sarah faced the speaking brother. "This ends now," she said. For a moment, something human flickered in his eyes. Confusion, regret, pain. Then the mountain came down. Sarah ran. She burst from the forest just as the earth collapsed behind her, sealing the cave forever. Silence followed. Weeks later, the mountains were quiet. No humming. No disappearances. Caleb's body was never found. Neither were the brothers. Sarah left Raven's Creek for the last time. But sometimes, late at night, she still hears it. A faint melody on the wind. Because mountains don't forgive. They remember.